Hey, welcome back to Mrs. B Reads. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm here with period 6.
Hi.
Don't they sound great? As we go into part 3 of I Am Malala, we are working on questions to discuss in a Socratic seminar. So for this chapter, we are thinking about 3 questions. We're thinking about, the chapter is called A Chance to Speak. What was that chance? And how did Malala and her classmates use their voices? Do you think that doing the interviews that Malala did was a good thing? Why or why not? And what does Malala mean when she says on page 71, the wind would carry my words? So we're keeping those 3 questions in mind. All right, part 3, finding my voice. Chapter 11, a chance to speak. Day or night, my father's courage never seemed to waver, despite receiving threatening letters as well as warnings from concerned friends. As the school bombings continued, he spoke out against them. He even went to the site of one school bombing while it was still a smoldering wreck. And he went back and forth to Islamabad, and Peshawar, pleading with the government for help and speaking out against the Taliban. I could see that my mother was worried at times. She would hug us close and pray over us before we left for school and as soon as we came home. And she sat late into the night with her phone in her hand, trying not to call my father every hour. She talked to us of plans for what we would do if the Taliban came. She thought she could sleep with a knife under her pillow. I said I could sneak into the toilet and call the police. I thought of the magic pencil I used to pray for. Now would be as good a time as any for my prayer to finally be answered. Back at school, my friends and I wondered what we could do, so Madam Miriam and my father worked with us on essays and speeches in which we expressed our feelings about the Taliban's campaign to destroy girls' schools and about how much our own school meant to us. We planned an assembly where we would make our speeches. We called it a peace rally, but it was just going to be a handful of us upper school girls. The day of the assembly, a Pashto TV crew arrived at our school. We were excited and surprised. We didn't think anyone would care what a group of girls had to say about peace. Some girls were nervous, but I had given a few interviews by this time and I was a bit more comfortable in front of a camera, although truth be told, I did still get nervous. We were a democracy at the Kushal school, so every girl would get a chance to speak. The older girls went first. They talked about our friends who had quit school out of fear. They talked about how much we loved to learn. Then it was Moniba's turn. Moniba, our public speaking champion, stepped to the front and spoke like a poet. We Pashtuns are a religion-loving people, she said. Because of the Taliban, the whole world is claiming we are terrorists. This is not the case. We are peace-loving. Our mountains, our trees, our flowers, everything in our valley is about peace. After Moniba spoke, it was my turn. My mouth was as dry as dust. I was anxious, as I often was before interviews, but I knew this was an important opportunity to spread our message of peace and education. As soon as they put a microphone in front of me, the words came out, sure and steady, strong and proud. This is not the Stone Age, I said, but it feels like we are going backward. Girls are getting more deprived of our rights. I spoke about how much I loved school, about how important it was to keep learning. We are afraid of no one, and we will continue our education. This is our dream. And I knew in that instant that it wasn't me, Malala, speaking. My voice was the voice of so many others who wanted to speak, but couldn't. So think about the questions, right? I'm thinking that part right there might be a little important for those questions. Microphones made me feel as if I were speaking to the whole world, but I had talked to only local TV stations and newspapers, but still, I felt as if the wind would carry my words, the same way it scatters flower pollen in the spring, planting seeds all over the earth. And I had started a funny habit. I sometimes found myself looking in the mirror and giving speeches. Our house was often full of relatives from Shangla who came to Mingora when they needed to go to the doctor or do some shopping. The kitchen was full of aunties gossiping. The guest room was full of uncles arguing, and the house was full of little children playing and crying and arguing. With all this chaos swirling about, I would escape into the bathroom and look in the mirror. When I looked in the mirror, though, I didn't see myself. I saw hundreds of people listening to me. My mother's voice would snap me out of my daydream. "Pisho," she'd say, "what are you doing in there? Our guests need to use the bathroom." I felt quite silly sometimes when I realized I was giving a speech to a mirror in the toilet. "Malala," I would say to myself, "what are you doing?" Maybe, I thought, I was still that little Malala who lectured an empty classroom. But maybe it was something more. Maybe that girl in the mirror, that girl who imagined speaking to the world, was the Malala I would become. So throughout 2008, as our SWAT was being attacked, I didn't stay silent. I spoke to local and national TV channels, radio, and newspapers. I spoke out to anyone who would listen. We're going to take a break and talk about those questions. We'll be back with Chapter 12 in a minute. Don't forget to like and subscribe.